Very good afternoon, one and all. Myself, Dr. M. Shanmugam, Regional Director, IGNOR Regional Center, Bangalore. Today, Regional Center Bangalore is organized a webinar on future perspective of higher education through the lens of NEP 2020. For this webinar, we have with us the subject expert, Dr. Pramod Kumar, MPM. Sir is an assistant professor, the School of Education, at Christ, deemed to be university, having the vast experience in teaching and research, more than 15 years of teaching experience, with qualifications of MSc, PhD in zoology. Sir is having two PhD, one PhD in zoology in 2009, and one more PhD in education. So that is a MSc zoology PG and MAd, PhD in zoology and PhD in education, and published many research publication paper in both national and international conferences, seminars, attended the conferences of national level, international levels, also contributed, worked in a project called Binghamton University, USA, under the classroom management, monitoring teacher education, also served as the team member for NCT. So with vast qualification and experience, on behalf of Regional Center Bangalore, my colleague Dr. Emamali, Dr. Kasturi, Assistant Director, Dr. Mr. Rajshekhar, all supporting staff, on behalf of Regional Center Bangalore, I welcome you, sir, for this webinar, and also welcome all the participants, the Study Center Coordinator present, for IGNOR Study Center Coordinator. I can see Dr. Kumar Sami from the Study Center from the Shivamogga, other Study Centers Coordinators, supporting staff and learners. Definitely, you will have some exposure on NEP 2020 with future perspective of higher education. So with this introduction, now I call upon Dr. Pramod sir. Please deliver your lecture on this matter. Over to you, sir, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shanmugam sir. And it's indeed a great honor and pleasure to be a part of the webinar series. With due respect to my teacher, Dr. Shanmugam, I'm very much pleased to present my perspectives with regard to the National Education Policy of 2020 with the future perspectives of higher education. As you all know, the National Education Policy has got its approval more than 3 decades, which represents a bold and visionary steps in reimagining the educational landscape of India. So in the context of higher education, the policy sets forth a future-oriented agenda that emphasizes quality, equality, flexibility, and global relevance. So as India inspires to become a knowledge-based economy, so NEP 2020 lays a foundation for this transforming education. So to meet, again, the dynamic needs of the 21st century, what we commonly emphasize on, maybe critical thinking, creativity, problem solving. So NEP is a basic foundation which has been a document, an elaborative document, which clearly orients us in driving and directing most of the educators into these lines of where the demands of 21st century are met. And to begin with, I have titled my presentation as the future perspectives of higher education through the lenses. When we use the word through the lenses of higher education, it clearly gives us the direction of understanding NEP in terms of what all it has been laid as the foundation, starting from the principles, maybe the mission, the vision of NEP, and moving further in understanding how it has built its views and objectives in transforming our education, maybe in terms of internationalization, in terms of technology integration. We are in the era of artificial intelligence. How do NEP contributes to this? The post-pandemic has highlighted the role of digital learning in the present generation, the e-content in the languages or the studies what we make. And a strong emphasis is placed on even understanding the teacher education through integrated 4-year B.Ed program. So there are several aspects which comes as a component of the NEP in the light of higher education. So, the first and foremost, a brief introduction. As we all know, this NEP is one of the a historic shift which came after 34 years, which envisioned a comprehensive framework to transform Indian education across all levels. Though my focus is on higher education, but NEP has touched its part in starting from elementary education to higher education. It has encompassed all the domains of education in India, and it lays a strong emphasis on transforming higher education to make it more holistic, multidisciplinary, inclusive, and mainly aligning it with the 21st century skills. So when we look into the components of NEP in terms of the vision of the policy, the NEP envisions an education system rooted in Indian ethos, is what they strongly contribute directly in transforming India, that is Bharat. So sustainably into equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all, and thereby making India a global knowledge superpower. The vision statement of the NEP clearly helps us in defining what NEP looks at, starting from the basis of education as we start to reframe and realign our education, starting from the primary to higher education. The vision statement lays a biggest foundation. So it clearly speaks about few of the things like inclusive, equitable, the holistic, which clearly meets the global education agenda of sustainable development goal number 4, quality education. So the entire education need to be reconfigured to support and foster learning. So that is more in terms of the SDG for the target of 2030, what is to be achieved. So as we all know, the world is undergoing a very rapid change in the knowledge landscape. So with various dramatic scientific and technological advancement, maybe in terms of machine learning, in terms of artificial intelligence, right, and many skilled jobs which the world have taken up. And when we speak about all these things, the education becomes the base. Indeed, the changing employment landscape and the global ecosystem itself is increasing demand, where we need to produce children who are critical, who are very important. They learn how to learn, is what NEP has emphasized. So education must move towards this, where emphasis is given less towards content learning and more towards learning how to think critically and solve problems, so that they are creative, they are multidisciplinary, and their pedagogical practices, what even as teachers we practice, makes them more creative and engaging. The words like experiential learning is what emphasized in our NEP. Some of the key objectives what NEP strongly brings in is the holistic development, where emphasizing the education should not contribute only to one domain of development, as we have been doing all these days, the cognitive, but rather it also speaks more about emphasizing on emotional and social skills, which are very much important in the present generation now. So when we address the key objectives of NEP, it clearly elicits us in understanding the basis of NEP, equity and inclusion. The word inclusion is very essential nowadays when we speak about the 21st century skills, or when we address the learners in terms of their diversity. India is again a nation which is best known for diversity, where we see across many things, starting from our gender, religion, caste, things like that. India is been affirmed with vast diversity. So the concept of inclusion plays a very vital role. And I'm again coming with terms of different types of learners, what we see, right? So they have also used a mere focus on bringing them into streamlining. So the vision of NEP is more inclined towards inclusive and equity based education, where everybody get a chance to understand their strengths, and based on that they can move ahead into the education system what they are aspiring to be in the future. Vocational education and skill development is another key objective. Bridging the gap between Indian indigenous knowledge system is the word what NEP has emphasized. We are deeply rooted with our indigenous knowledge system. We take examples like Ayurveda. We have systems like allopathy, maybe dominating our medicines, but still we have a ground rooted knowledge with regard to the medicines, what is being provided through our environment. So use of technology, India is again a hub. We call India as a hub for technology, IT sector. Bangalore is another best example. It also emphasizes some different pathways of learning. This is the most important contributions of NEP in terms of future education. It has broken down the barrier of the monotony of our Indian education system, where we had compartmentalized our education into very rigid system. Suppose you join arts, you are going to be termed as an art student by the end of your entire teaching learning, or maybe the entire learning ends up being called as an art student. So the biggest barrier is broken down, where every learner has a flexibility of learning what he wish to learn. Being in a science stream, he can take up arts. Being in an art, he can take up science. An engineer can learn an art, or an art student can learn an engineering. So this monotony of the discipline specific system is being broken down is another important objective. And finally, they also ended up in giving emphasis to teacher education, because where they still believe that teachers are the root cause for quality education. So focusing on improving how the teacher quality is another important objective of NEP. So I just want to quickly start with the proposal of school education. This is the biggest reform what NEP has brought in terms of school education. I just emphasized on one slide in school education, where it clearly brings us an understanding. The formal education in India will be going to from the age 3 now, which was not formally recognized. We had a system which started with 6 years, 5 years of 10 months of our education as a formal. Many private agencies dominated this with their own views and ideologies, where they started this kindergarten, Montessori, things like that. Looking into the view of that, so the best part of the NEP in terms of school education is restructuring and realignment of our school education, where the formal education starts at the age of 3 years now in India. That's one of the biggest contribution with regard to school education. Many things have been spoken, but my focus today is on more on higher education. And if you just look into the vision of higher education in NEP 2020, again, it has used 3 things: accessibility, inclusivity, and equitable system. The basic aim of NEP is to see that India gets a best access to everybody to pursue and continue their education by an agenda of 2030 and 2040. They want to bring a gross GDP of 50% by 2040, gross enrollment rate by 50%. They also need to bring a holistic and flexible curriculum, is the word what they have used. As I was mentioning, the future of education resides just not with one discipline, you being an expert in one discipline, but you have a choice to make, where you are more flexible in deciding and determining what you are good at. Because some of the current challenges what Indian higher education system is following is the fragmented higher education ecosystem. This is the word what NEP has used, the fragmented higher education ecosystem, where there is less emphasis on the development of all the domains like cognitive, affective, and social. Now, that's the part where the word holistic comes into its importance, where every domain, just not the cognition, but we can also place importance on emotional, social, physical, right? Then the suboptimal governance and leadership of higher education is also questioned by NEP, where they really want to restructure the organogram of higher education. By this, finally, the larger goal of a higher education is to see that how they foster the concept of global citizenship, research and innovations. So the limited infrastructure or the institutional infrastructure is emphasized more by NEP, where now they are again restructuring the this, educational institutions also. They are going to realign the educational institution wherein they want to bring more research-based centers where innovation becomes a priority. So in addition to teaching, research is the component. Higher education will have very crucial responsibility in nurturing learners with the skills of research and innovation. So these are some of the few points which I want to touch upon when we speak about the future of higher education. One is accessibility, then inclusivity, where everybody is taken care, then the high quality education in terms of nurturing multidisciplinary skills. We're not focused on one particular discipline where we are saying I'm good at only one thing, not many things. Also promoting holistic education where all the domains and the personality of the learner is nurtured in terms of physical, emotional, intellectual. So, few highlights of NEP 2020. It started with making a note what the vision of Indian higher education system should be, and it started in defining the institutional restructuring and consolidation. And the next important point it touched upon was holistic and multidisciplinary education. Then it also spoke about the good learning environment and support for students and how it can be given so that it motivates, energizes, and that also build a good capability in terms of the faculty where they need to be more oriented in terms of capacity building. Then I said equity and inclusion in how we can bring the finance part of uh, education is also addressed. They also laid importance to the vocational education, the multidisciplinary approach, then catalyzing the academic research in all fields, how we can nurture. So growth will be both in terms of nurturing teaching as well as research. When an importance is given, every higher education institution will try to become a research institute where they see that innovation becomes the priority. Then adult education and lifelong learning is another important part which even has been laid importance because any time a learner can come back and take up his education, no limitation with the limit of age. Then other things include promotion of indigenous knowledge system or languages, art and culture, technology using integration, where now we can see the biggest reform seen in higher education. Earlier, the days were there where we used to have only open distance educations, but now we have online come distance education programs being offered through online. So that's another important part when it comes to technology use and integrating them into our education system. Uh, yes, so taking each one of them, I want to expand a little more about the higher education, what is being reforms and what are the things which have been proposed in NEP. The first and foremost one is restructuring of higher education institutions. See, maybe by 2040, all higher education institutions shall aim to become multidisciplinary institutions where they are not imparting one particular education, but they are having many things to be done in one setup. So they just want to transform this, and every institution need to be considered as a multidisciplinary university. So the colleges having more than 300 students or more will get into a chance of transforming them into a multidisciplinary universities. So they get a more chance, and now every university is moving towards a transformational change in terms of types of institutions. That's a very good initiative what NEP has emphasized on, where they lay importance in transforming the institutions into three different types. Starting from an institution which has emphasized on research intensive university. That's the first bucket what they have made, the categorization of institution, where emphasis is given on high quality teaching and high quality research. So that's the first bucket of institutions what they want to rearrange. Then the second part of institutions are those who give importance to teaching, but still conduct a significant quality research. They are called as teaching intensive universities. The third category of institutions are autonomous degree granting universities, where a multidisciplinary college that grants undergrad degrees, and the prime focus is on undergrad teaching. Maybe higher education starts with our UG. So higher education institutions will have an autonomy and freedom to move gradually from one category to other category based on the plans, actions, and effectiveness of the model. Both public as well as private are not discriminated. So its emphasis is that all the multidisciplinary education institutions should be at par with our so-called eminent institutions like IITs, IIMs. So they also put a word, multidisciplinary education and research universities, the MERU, will be set up, which will attain the highest global standards, which I'm going to touch upon later. So they see that though your institution may be a teaching intensive university today, but see that how you transform it to a research intensive university. Your institution can be a research intensive university, but how you transform it to a multidisciplinary education and research university, where you're not just focusing on one discipline, but bringing other disciplines also. So that's the important, the biggest reform what NEP has brought into our higher education is putting them into three categories of institutions, where they are going to label themselves and term themselves as a different category. So as I mentioned, the the gross enrollment ratio in higher education to be attained 50% by 2035 is the agenda what NEP has emphasized on, so that they attain this target as well, where we speak more about equitable, accessible education in higher education. So that is mainly to be attained by getting at least the gross enrollment ratio to 50%. Another important transformative change what the NEP emphasized is the UG program with multiple entry and exit options. They have provided different designs for programs starting from UG to PG, right? So now the UG will either have 3 years or 4 years duration with multiple exit and entry options, with appropriate certifications being credited to each of the learner in terms of the amount of time what he has spent in the teaching learning process. So I just put a table to highlight what is this 3 years and 4 years bachelor's degree program with multiple entry and exit options being provided in each of the programs with the duration what the student is going to gain. So the structure is more about understanding how a multidisciplinary education will work and what is this entry and exit options is all about. Any student who is going to complete 1 year, if you want to exit from that program, does not go wasted. So that is an exit option every student is going to get. So with the successful completion of 2 years, he may be graduated and awarded a diploma. Successful certificate for 1 year. They did not carry until and unless they have made an attempt to complete all the 3 years. No candidate had any credentials with him saying that I spent 2 years of UG, I have completed 1 year of UG. So that's the best part of NEP in the higher education. They have brought multiple entry exit points opened so that whatever the time and amount of energy or the learning it candidate is going to get is going to be credited with this certificate. They also brought in a 4 years bachelor's degree as a follow-up, where emphasis is going to be more on research. The 4th year, the entire duration of the 4th year, the candidate is going to spend on research, which will directly make him enter to the 2nd years of master's degree program, PG. Suppose a student do a 4 years of bachelor's degree, he is exempted from 1 year of PG. He can directly take entry to the 2nd year if he has completed the 4th year with a rigorous part of research project. So that's the entry option, a direct entry given to the PG 2nd year when he successfully completes the 4 years program. So like that, we also have a 4 years honors, which is almost with the 3 years, it runs parallelly. But the 4th year, the student is totally involved in doing a research where he completes a rigorous amount of research that will make him to enter directly to the 2nd year of PG. So the other, this is again eligibility criteria. If you look, then candidates to have completed 3 years, the direct entry to the master program is one way. Then, or else you also have a second option. The candidate who have completed 4 years bachelor's with research, they directly get into the 2nd. So that's another add-on which is being brought as a reform in our higher education in terms of structure. The most important recommendation came in terms of UG and PG programs is in terms of a very institution will aim to offer PG programs. It includes some core areas like machine learning, and it also has multidisciplinary fields like artificial intelligence, languages like X+, then the professional areas like health. And we have framework which is very comprehensive and which is going to be across all the education system, what it encompasses in terms of the education being acquired. So the opportunities, the skills, the equity, the economic growth, and all the development of our countries is to see that India builds a youngest nation in terms of good skills, apparently with quality education. So the national curriculum framework lays its importance to realize how we transform this in terms of realities of what NEP has suggested. So this is another important contribution of NEP, where it has asked to frame a framework where everyone are aligned in terms of having a common understanding of our education. So maybe if I say integrating learning, multidisciplinary, which are the vocational skills, what are the experiential learning pedagogies. So things like this were addressed in National Curriculum Framework, where one single framework which has different aspects of learning. So implementation of a National Curriculum Framework is a game changer, where realizing the vision and intent of NEP by ensuring more flexibility, mobility, and establishing academic equivalence between general and vocational education, then removing the distinctions between them, like I said you are an art discipline, you are a science discipline, you are a commerce discipline, right? Then integration of other options like exit and entry, which I spoke earlier, and also how effectively one can be having a broader base of education in terms of combinations of subjects and disciplines. So the framework has been built on understanding the existing regulations, guidelines, looking into all the bodies like AICT, NCRT, CBSE, NIOS, including NCTE, where these are all the governing bodies starting from school education, NCRT. If you look in, so the National Curriculum Framework provides us the biggest contributions to the field of education in terms of understanding our higher education. I'll be touching more upon this. What are the contributions of NCRF framework and how it is been functioning and how it can be a good future towards our holistic and multidisciplinary education. So now they have made a strong confirmation that both private as well as public universities will work towards this integrating the national curriculum framework into their curriculum, where the emphasis is more on bringing out all learning and assessments, accumulations of the credit, storage, transfer, and redemption of credit, and all subjected to one single assessment framework, which you are going to see. Yeah, I just spoke about these things. The emphasis of this national credit framework is to see that how effectively we can bring transformation in where disciplines like arts, humanities, commerce, and science, there will be no encompassing starting from school education, reaching to the highest degree in higher education, which we take it as PhD, and looking into all they have to come down to school education also. So this is something like what the credit, the word credit, what we are going to speak much about when we say national curriculum framework of credits. So what does the credit means? So any theory or a new concept is taught and the student is learning something new throughout the classes, and it also involves self-learning. So one credit is equivalent to 15 hours of instruction what he gets from a mentor or a teacher. For a practice to 30 hours, 30 hours of a practical exam, practical course. So he's going to get one credit accumulated by successful completion. The assessment is always there in our Indian education system. It's been practiced. But on successful completion of 30 hours, what he's going to gain is the credit, what it speaks about. Yeah, this is a brief picture about how it is being addressed, starting from, as I said, the school levels, if you just look into the first credit, what the child is going to accumulate is from the grade 5. If you can see here the point from the grade 5, the National Credit Framework credit level starts when the child successfully completes the 5th standard. He is going to accumulate the first credit, gradually moving further the 3 years of middle years, 6th, 7th, and 8th, and he completes the next level of 8th standard. He is going to get 2 credits. So like that, every learner can accumulate the credits starting from school education to the highest degree, what is PhD now. The final national credit framework is at level 8, is the highest degree what you are going to get. And finally, by the end of his entire learning career, if he starts accumulating credits based on this description, he may totally gain 320 points. So it is something like what he has gained per year in terms of the level what he has reached. 80 to 4 is going to be 320 credit points. So the National Credit Framework speaks elaborately in terms of these accumulating credits, where after grade 12, you can see he's going to accumulate 4, and if he has spent 40 hours of this course, then 4 into 4, 160 credit points. So at any level, there is a check in making us understand. Then you have an academic skill access towards attaining those particular academic knowledge. The second domain, what it strongly brings in is the skill access. So every student can parallelly work in all the 3 dimensions to accumulate as many credits as he can. Is what's the that. But where we really assess with the skills, I may be a swimmer or a national player. Is my skill assessed, or am I going to get some credit for that skill what I have acquired? I have represented India in the national level sports as a Kho player, as a Kabaddi player. Was that assessed? So the National Credit Framework gives its importance in assessing those. A skill is a domain. You acquired something like you're good at agriculture. Your family practices agriculture and you have acquired those skills and you have an expertise in that. So how those things gets accumulated in our programs is what the second domain speaks about, the upper one, the skill domain. You can take up those programs. You can take up those short-term, long-term courses in acquiring certain skills, right? Then accumulate them as credits, which will contribute to the accumulation of the entire final. Then the then how are you going to accumulate that? So you have an experiential learning of your proficiency access being addressed. You have 10 years of industry experience, and that is going to be accumulated in credits. That's what experience speaks about. After 10 years, you want to come back to one of the programs to do some UG or PG program, you may get a direct entry to the master's program. They can be exempting you from doing the UG because you have already got that equivalent credits being accumulated with just your experience, what you have acquired. After PUs, you think that you got an education, you got a maybe an appointment. You served for 10 years in railways. You served for 15 years in any of the organization industry. Then how are you going to join now? You need not join back to UG again. You can accumulate them, seek the equivalency of the credits, what it's going to be accounted with your experience, and see which level you'll fit in. Like my previous table. With my previous table, if you accumulate and see that my level is at, so now I am at 5.5, then you can directly take up the third year program rather than taking first and second year, because you have acquired that through your experiential learning. Like that, you can directly acquire 6.5 level, or you can acquire 5.5 level or 6 levels, or even without studying, you have only the acquired certain skill. You may be eligible to take up 4 credits, then you are directly eligible to take up +2 PUs. So the biggest reform is with regard to this, because we always the biggest challenge with our education was the stagnation or the wastage. Or sometimes we saw that sometimes we lose our education just because of several problems related to our economy or personal or financial or family related. Then there is no support sought to us even after certain time. So the National Credit Framework Dimensions of Learning brought this as a measure to overcome and to acquire number of credits as much as possible. Yeah. So this is the table which clearly speaks about how one can accumulate, or what are the total learning hours, and how it can relate to accumulation of credits per year. And what are the NRIF, NCRF credit levels you may reach. So in higher education, under undergrad, they have classified the conclusion is the credits. Now, what all we spoke how the National Credit Framework, the credit storage and
Your
of credits.
your voice is breaking. Your voice is breaking. I think some internet problem, huh? Connectivity. Can you check it?
So can you confirm now? Is it okay?
It's okay, but in between it was breaking. Now you can start. We'll see. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, please.
Just let me know, sir,
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
The other biggest contribution of NEP 2020 is in terms of how do we accumulate the credits, the academic credit, the ABC, what we commonly call it as the academic bank of credits. So it is a repository where every student is going to get his, as I said, the effort what he has spent in the journey of learning is going to be recorded, and your achievements and competencies from formal or informal or whatever modes of learning what is fed, either through acquisition of a skill or either through academic or through experiential learning, are recognized, they are transferred, and they are valued across different institutions and sectors. So now every student is going to get an APAR ID, right, which becomes a unique lifelong academic identity, enabling access to academic records, certificates, qualifications, all in one place, which are secure and transparent. And even as a parent, you can mentor their early education achievements. Student can plan their academic goals, and institution can ensure their credit verifications and mobility. So no more worries about you have lost your marks cards. There is a delayed verification. There is nothing that I have to start again from new because I have lost all my marks card. So the academic bank of credits build your education brick by brick across institutions over a stipulated time. So you want to pause your studies, you want to explore your careers, look into the credits what you have accumulated, ensure you don't lose what you have already earned. Then from that, starting from I said grade 3, now you have entitled to accumulate. So the important purpose of this ABC is to see that how you create an unified, flexible, and learner-centric platform, a digital platform which empowers you to see that you have a control over your educational journey. So the main objective is to provide with a unique ID, the digital credit ledger, so that you promote multiple entry exit options. You recognize every learning experience across institutions, disciplines, and sectors, and see that your credit transfers and accumulation across your entire journey of learning is accountable. So it also helps the learner to integrate the co-curricular aspects like sports, professional learning. Maybe if he's an engineer, he may be acquiring only cognitive skills, but he can also acquire sports he can be good at. So the ABC guidelines have been notified and they have been extended to cover the provisions related to school education as well. But still efforts are yet to be taken with school education, but the ABC has come into its role in the higher education. So this is what the ABC is, the building block. Why I said, see, you can starting from
Excuse me, Pramod sir, again your voice started
understanding any
breaking.
subject
Again voice started
combination.
breaking.
So you can accumulate credits of BSc, and from that you can accumulate 1 or 2 credits. Hello?
Pramod
Hello?
sir, again your voice started breaking, sir. Please check. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Yeah,
Sir, can you
I
hear
am
me?
able to hear you. Your voice again started breaking. Now it is okay. Yeah.
Hello?
Continue.
Is it fine, sir, now?
Okay, Continue, please. Continue.
Yeah. So the figure what I represented here clearly makes us understand what is ABC all about, why it is called as a building block, because if you look into each of the domains, what is being emphasized here will clearly make us understand how ABC works. I was giving an example of the first one, any subject combination. As a learner, you can choose any of the subject, then you can accumulate any of the credits that will go to your account. Then Bachelor's of Liberal Education is you have an type change. As I said, you can ask to transform to commerce, then they just check into the required credits. If it matches, then they may give you a chance to change. Then convert credits into degrees and diplomas. That is another important aspect. Now we have accumulated 40 credits, you have a certificate. After due credits of the degree what you are going to acquire. There is no hard and fast rule that you have to complete it at one stretch. Take it at one stretch and do it and complete it. Even with studying multidisciplinary subject, you have accumulated more number of credits, your equivalency can be sought even with the PG. And lifelong learning enabled. So as I said, no, you can do your qualifications at your own pace. You got the job opportunity by diploma, you go to diploma. After 10 years, you come back. You want to add on to the credits, it can be done. Then merging of regular distance online and virtual modes. This today you may be a regular student. Parallelly, you can take up online courses where you'll address on attaining some of the courses through online, and you accumulate some credits and that gets credited to your account. So you may be seeking some equivalency or accumulation of credit is 120. In 2 years, you can accumulate 120. That may be equivalent to a degree. So the ABC is a biggest advantage where the personalized learning journey for students and professionals are addressed, and there is a seamless academic transitions, re-entry opportunities, reduces the dropout rates. It also recognizes the value-added learning pathways, what you have accomplished, maybe in terms of sports, music, being in co-curricular activities. It also helps in institutional coordination. You might have accumulated few credits from IGNOU, you might have accumulated few credits from Christ. It enables us to understand about the coordination of both institutions, how we can equate that. And it is data driven. Every learner will be able to look into his own data of the credits what is accumulated, rather than depending on a university to certify him later. And it has an increased global acceptance. So with the standardized credit system, which has been sought equivalency across the globe, will help you to fetch jobs to be settled in any part of the world. Or you can easily speak of taking up admissions in any part of the universities which you feel you are eligible or you are capable of. Yes, these are some of the figures which clearly elicit some of the options are. You have an option of single discipline major in UG. You have one major and one minor discipline. We also have two major disciplines with language as open electives. The fourth and fifth option is one major discipline, one vocational discipline, right? Like teacher education can be one vocational. The 4 years integrated program, what we speak, you have BSc, B.Ed, where there is a major discipline of science, and we also have one professional course as teacher education. So there are components like open electives, ability enhancement courses, skill development courses, through which you can accumulate as many credits as you can. So this is the curriculum framework, how it looks under NCRF. The first year and second year, we have with regard to the major core areas, it will be more on understanding the discipline if you are a science. We also have a minor related disciplines which can also be related to science. Then we have languages compulsory. Then we also have ability enhancement compulsory courses which will provide you the skill-based learning. So ability enhancements is about how you can nurture a particular competency. We also have skill enhancement courses which will make you proficient in one skill. If you are a mechanical engineer, more in terms of handling instruments, things like that. Yes. So with each year being progressing, you can see how many courses one can study. So major course, you can accumulate up to 4 courses. Minor can be 2 courses. Ability can be 2. But in the first year, you can see ability enhancement courses in terms of languages. He has only option in the first year, but second year as in progresses, the emphasis is more on co-curricular activities, development of various domains in terms of mind and personality various. So emotional domain is given importance. Coming to the third year, they have emphasized more on experiential learning, providing them internship opportunities where they can spend time in the industries. Then the fourth year is morely focused on research. Major disciplines, core and elective will be continued, but the advanced learners will be taken into consider where they develop research competencies. Yeah, this is how. And the last part of our education is always assessment, how we are assessing it, multidisciplinary programs. We also have a national skill qualification framework alignment where they speak about different levels. So every program should have this level of subjects where it comes as level 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So the first year is level 5 where we are acquiring only basics. Then level 6 is intermediate, level 7 is advanced, and 8th and 9th leads them to take up post-graduation levels. So now we don't call them as first year, second year, or third year. Rather, we represent them as level 5, 6, 7. 8th and 9th speaks about more about the master's program. The other option, switching subjects in post-graduation. Earlier, the opportunity was to make you eligible only with a particular discipline what you have studied in your UG, would lead you to take up post-graduation in that particular subject. But now there is a major or minor discipline taken by the student in our UG. So irrespective of major or minor, student is eligible just by qualifying the national level or university level entrance exam in the discipline of PG programs. So the candidates who might have completed 4 years, 3 years, and 2 years of PG program or 5 years integrated will be eligible for taking admissions in programs like ME and MTech in allied areas which they feel is aligned towards their UG and PG programs. So now the postgraduate provides an opportunity for students to change the field. They can realize their vision as per their pathways, what they have an opportunity. So more freedom is given to make choices in your PG. It is not now discipline specific. Then how do you accumulate your semester grade and the cumulative grade points is what I'm going to speak. This is again the grading system. We will not rely much upon our percentiles like what we used to have in our marks cards. Now anything will be credited, and how do we calculate the credit is based on 2 things: the semester grade point average and the cumulative grade point average what the student is going to acquire. So for a particular course, if it's a 3 credit, letter A represents a grade, and how his grade points are calculated. So if his credits are 24, so he has to get the maximum of 24 credits. He has to reach, if he has reached 24, then by that, if you can see how the entire CGPA of the semester is calculated by accumulating each of the courses what he has accumulated with semesters. Suppose there is a combination of A and B, which will also reduce to his semester grade point average. So based on the grades what he has accumulated and the credit what he has acquired for that particular course. So SGPA is calculated. Then CGPA gets converted. The SGPA gets converted to CGPA, where a person has accumulated 20 credits, which is required for first semester. His SGPA will be 6.9. So like that, if he has got SGPA of 7.8 credits in the second semester, finally, if you look into 1, 2, 3, 4, that just multiply with the 20 into 6.9 what is accumulated semester average in terms of the total credits what the semester is offering. So that will entirely give the cumulative grade point what he has accumulated for his entire journey, either in UG or PG. So every course gets converted to grades, then the grade gets converted to points, and semester wise we have, and then we'll have course wise entirely. So this is the classification of the candidate. The first row is indication of what we have been following, the percentiles. But now if you look into the grading is alphabetically graded. O stands for outstanding, A stands for excellent, A plus stands for excellent, A stands for very good. So that's how your CGPA grade level is given. If you are falling between 8 to 8.99, that is something like near to 90%, you are coming under A plus category. So further, the marks cards will be addressed in these levels rather than putting you as first class, distinction, or exemplary first class. They will be emphasizing more on A plus, A, B plus things. Yeah. NEP also emphasized on few other things which I just wanted to touch upon. It has given a strong emphasis on bringing STEM education as a practice so that every student will have no restrictions in understanding other subjects. So that's another importance what NEP has emphasized on. Then they also spoke about the eligibility criteria for PhD. So candidates who have completed 4 years of bachelor's degree with research are now eligible to take up PhD if their research is very much rigorous. They have completed the research program. No need to wait for PG. Then the other options remain same. Those who have completed 2 years master program can take up PhD, and MPhil is now discontinued. Yeah, as I said, the first bucket of institutions can lead to take up MERU. The multidisciplinary education and research universities are going to come up, where education should be at a very high quality, relating it to IITs and IIMs, and they will meet higher standards. So other emphasis is on internationalization of our higher education. India ought to be globally visible with good education being afforded, where we have a good students coming from other parts of the world, providing them the premium education at a very affordable cost. So we can seek MOUs with universities. We can also speak about setting up Indian universities abroad or even the campuses in other countries. And similarly, selected universities from other 100 universities in the world will be facilitated to operate in India, where they can open their centers in India. That's another option what higher education NEP has emphasized. Now the entire organogram is also going to be changed. The entire educational setup is going to be worked like this. So the organogram what NEP has suggested in terms of bringing in with respect to higher education. So they want to dissolve the existing UGC or the AICT, and they want to bring up a single statutory body which is called as Higher Education Council of India, where it will be one of the regulatory bodies for higher education, which is intended to replace UGC and other regulatory bodies what are functioning now. Under the entire higher education is envisioned as single unified body to see that all the aspects of higher education are brought under one umbrella. And based on that, based on the functions what they perform, there are going to be sub-organizations which I have mentioned, like National Higher Education Regulatory Council, which is going to be responsible for regulatory functioning. We will also have National Accreditation Council, which we call NAC now, focused only on accreditation of institutions. We'll have Higher Education Grants Council, which will look into the funding mechanisms. Then we'll also have General Education Council, which will be responsible for setting up academic standards. So this is going to be the next organogram of our higher education, which is going to replace UGC, NCTE, and other AICTs, which are the governing our higher education. It also speaks about capping on the fees charged. Government spending on education should be enhanced to 6%. It's set by 2040 as a target year for completing the implementation of NEP 2020 higher education. They also laid importance to teacher education should be conducted within multidisciplinary colleges by 2030. There will be no more standalone teacher education institutions which impart education independently. Disciplinary institutions. Yeah, I'm done with my presentation, sir. If there is any chance of
Yes,
answers,
yes,
I can pick up some of the questions.
yes, yeah, very good presentation. You have given in-depth, no exposure of NEP, how the school education and the higher educations, the structural changes has been made to facilitate learners to gain the multidisciplinary, exposure to achieve the talent pool. Actually, the NEP goal to achieve the talent, so allow the learners to gain the knowledge across the discipline.
Yes.
Further, the structural changes will help to, as a credit system, it will match the global education, so the learners will not find the difficulties. So that is the core idea behind that. Really, sir, on behalf of Regional Center Bangalore and the participant, I thank you for detailed informations and your presentation slide. It gives us some knowledge on NEP. Thank you very much. Now,
Thank you.
now one or two questions from participant if you want to.